Hi guys, welcome to Charlie's Toy Box. This is my 8-month 2,500 mile review, what I think of the bike. I initially took this video up in Wilkinson up in the mountains up there today, but didn't quite come out the way I wanted it to and missed a few things. So just got home from that ride. You know, see, I've just got a small backpack with my gear in it. Left the tour pack at home for today's ride. So this is a 2022 GSA 1250. Bought it October last year. I've got just over 2,500 miles on it now. And I'll start off with the cons, the things not so happy about or could be improved. On your TFT display, when you go down to your engine and the bike gauges there's a thing for your oil temperature. That only seems to work maybe 60% of the time. It doesn't give you your oil temperature. It just gives you an okay once the temperature's warm enough. And it'll go red, I guess, tell you got a problem if it gets too hot. So a lot of times that doesn't read anything. Dealers show that plug in, there's nothing wrong with anything. So even after the TFT update, it still does it. I've heard plenty of other bikes do the same thing. So that's one thing I'm not happy about. Number two, well, it could go one way or the other. The center stand. All the bikes I've had at the center stand, this is the hardest one to get up on a center stand. Some days I can do it, some days I can't. A lot of days it depends how much my feet and ankles are in pain from all the damage to them, so that makes a difference. But I don't know if BMW can really do anything about it with the design of the engine where you're having to put the center stand and all that to be able to fit it. It's probably just a little too far back, probably be a little further forward. So that's that. Next thing is the reach of the kickstand. I think some of that's got to do with my height. You know, I'm, let's see, 162 pounds, 5'7", 30-inch inseam. So wish I had a 32-inch inseam. That'd make life a hell of a lot nicer. But sometimes reaching for the kickstand, that could be a bit of a reach. That was, when I first got the bike, sometimes that was a bit of a challenge to be able to keep my right foot down and reach the kickstand to bring it up. I've gotten better at that over the time, and it's not as much of a hassle as it used to be, but that's more of a short person problem. The seat. A lot of people ask me about this seat. I've gone with a rally seat, and then I went with a low profile rally seat, not the standard height rally seat. The looking at spec wise, the 2-piece low seat is a little bit, maybe a 1/4 inch lower than the low rally seat. But the advantage of the rally seat for me, when I sat on both bikes going back and forth, the front of the rally seat was narrower. So that let me actually get my legs down to the ground better. But the question I get most from everyone is the comfort-wise of it. Well, during the winter, you know, I wear the Alpine Stars Andes 3s, top and bottom. During the winter, you've got your thermal liners in there. And you know, 450-mile street ride, I've had no issues with. As the weather warmed up, got up to the 60-degree mark or so, and I knew we were getting up to 80 degrees that day, I went ahead and took out the liners. And without the liner, right around maybe 275-mile mark, you know, it started to get a little sore on the bum. So come summertime, depending on the type of riding I'll be doing, I'll be going back and wearing bicycle shorts. You know, those that have the padding, that makes a big difference. Over the decades, it's been one of my tricks is to wear bicycle shorts, and I don't replace seats, don't need to. On a longer ride, sometimes when you want a little more cushion with this seat, up front your padding's a little more firm, not as much padding. So I want to change position, get a little more cushion. I just slide back right about the spot at the seat here, and there's a lot more padding there, so it does add to the comfort. So for us vertically challenged people, that's definitely a seat I recommend. You can't run it at a higher and lower like you can with the other seats because it's a one-piece seat, it's not two-piece, and to use that height adjustment you need the way they lock, it's different. So you'd have to change seat to a higher seat if you're going with a rally for the standard rally seat height or a taller one. So the two-piece seat does give you a little more adjustability height-wise. Suspension-wise, this bike, when I bought it, the ESA suspension was not available, but I still went ahead, got it, pretty much had everything I wanted. So this has got the manual suspension for my weight. I vary, between 160, 165. The standard suspension seems to do well for me. As I am right now, or with my tour pack on there, I leave the preload all the way backed out, and I run the damping at 8 clicks out on the rear shock. And that gives me a real nice ride, whether I'm on the road, town, or running through twisty roads, and up on the fire roads, the bumpy, pothole-filled, rock-filled fire roads like we were on today. The suspension's done great. I found that one setting I've got on, it's worked for everything I've done. If I had a lot more baggage, I'd just reach down here and crank in more preload, and probably 2 or 4 more clicks of damping to control it with extra preload. So, but right now I've got a good soft ride that handles really great in the twisties and does fine with the off-road explorations that I'm doing. One thing I'm really happy is the brake and throttle response. Let's just start with the brakes. It's got the Brembo brakes. I've heard some people say, oh, it's not as strong as the Brembo brakes they've had on their other bikes. Yeah, you're talking a sport bike, right? And some other bikes that are supposed to be adventure bikes have really touchy brakes. That's not something, I don't want touchy brakes when I'm out on the dirt. The Brembos on here have got a really good feel. It's soft and it gets progressively firmer. It gives you a great feel in the dirt to where I'm not going to lose that front end because I got on that brake too quick. Some touchy brake is going to lock up that front end on you. So I've been really happy with the brakes. The GSA comes with the 2-position brake pedal. I've got it's set for the higher position right now. Put it back for dirt, and I'll just put it back on the street position. Even in the higher position for standing, you can still use it on the street. Just use your foot on the outside edge. So that's nice, having that flip down piece on the brake pedal makes it great for when you're riding off-road and standing. And something I learned today, I knew these GSAs, the GSs, they've got link brakes, but one thing I didn't know, in Enduro Pro mode, I've got it set for the ABS Pro for the front brake and no ABS for the rear brakes. So I could lock up the rear brakes to help steer or tighter corner, or just having fun stopping, using the rear brake and locking it up. Well, I found out today with those settings that I have it on, I've got the front brake trailing it down the hill, going in a corner. I could add a little more brake to where I'm not worried about the front, and I can lock up that rear brake all by using the front wheel brake lever. So I'm not going to lock up my front. I could lock up the back and slide that back out and get back on it without having to, if I can't get my foot over to the foot brake fast enough to lock up the rear when I want to, I'm able to do it from here. So that was nice to find out today. I started experimenting with that, and I had fun with that. That was nice. Now, throttle control. A lot of the newer bikes, they're way too lean on the on-off throttle, or when you close your throttle, they cut off the fuel completely. So when you open your throttle again, it's jerky. Some bikes, most newer bikes, I've had to have tuned, bring it to Two Wheel Dyno Works, have them do the tune on it, smooth out that throttle. This BMW has got the nicest touch to the throttle. So smooth. Any throttle opening, whether from closed throttle, on throttle, it's smooth. I turn on Dynamic Pro throttle settings where it's supposed to be snappier, and even that, it's smooth. Got no complaints. Whether on the road mode, Dynamic Pro, Enduro Pro mode. In Enduro Pro mode, I use the road setting instead of the dynamic setting, so it's a little smoother for the off-road, and that works out great. So no complaints. Very, very happy. BMW did a great job. So tire-wise, this bike came with the Anarchy Adventures, and those were good tires. You know, they handle great on the twisties, on the road. This winter here in Washington, you know, I'm riding in 30-40 degree temperatures in the rain, and they did great. In fact, one day I got caught in a bad hailstorm on the way home to where the whole road in front of me turned white, and I had to go up the Puyallup Hill on 512, and that whole hill was nothing but white, and the car, from the hail, not snow, hail, so it was just ice, and the cars were slowing down. I got on the fast lane, left it in 6th gear, kept that engine RPMs low, and dropped my speed down, but I had no one in front of me in that lane, and I went up that hill with those Anarchy Adventures. Didn't have any slipping whatsoever. The tires did great, you know. Can't say anything bad about those tires. So about 1,680 miles, if I remember right, I went ahead and switched over to the Metzeler Karoo 4s. Those Anarchy Adventures have a lot, maybe 2 or 3 times the amount, maybe at least 6,000-8,000 miles left in them. They look like they're still new, but I switched over because, you know, I like getting out on the fire roads, and there are spots where those, you know, the Anarchy Adventures will handle most of that, no problem, but there are other spots like what we did today that I'm really glad I had these. When I've been out on the snow, I was really glad I had these tires, because the more street-oriented 80/20 tires, you know, out in the snow, my buddy nearly lost it on his Desert X that one time, and I had no issues with these Karoo 4s. So for me, it's a safety margin. I've done a few videos on the Karoo 4s, and I love them. You know, when I wear them out, I'll just be replacing them with these, even if I'm doing longer trips. You know, I've gotten used to them, and I'd rather, you know, if I decide I'm going off the well-beaten path here, that I've got tires I trust, I'd rather sacrifice some mileage out of them to have a front end that, you know, it's going to take care of me when I'm off the road there. And I'll give an update on these tires later down the road as I get more miles on them. I think I've got about 850 miles on them right now, and they really don't look like they're wearing. And before I go further, tires, the throttle control, back to that. You know, I've been running on the dirt in Enduro Pro mode, and you know, I can whack that throttle, I get a bit of spin, kick out maybe a foot at the most, and the bike's hooked up and accelerating. Today I decided, you know what, just for the heck of it, I went ahead and turned off the traction control. I forgot my friend was right behind me, and I was just like eager to try out turning off the traction control, see if it's going to be like my dirt bike, just spinning up the tires going down that dirt road, kicking it sideways. And yeah, turn off the traction control here on the handlebar, and you could just spin that tire and kick the bike sideways way out there, and put a big smile on my face. And then I remembered my buddy was behind me. I said, oh boy, I hope I didn't pepper him. So I backed it down, turned the traction control back on. You know, traction control, I kick it out a foot or so, and it only feels like a foot. Who knows how far it goes out, but it's very controllable, and the bike's hooking up right away. So my buddy was not upset with me. He laughed when I pulled over and apologized. He was just laughing. He says, "I got that on video." Oh, what else? The modifications on the bike right now. One of the first things I did was I put the Touratech Headlight Guard on it, just the clear Lexan guard. I didn't go with the metal. With the clear guard, I could just leave it on there, and I really don't see any need for the metal cage up front other than to distort the light even more. You know, the clear guard completely covers it. If you switch to the metal guard for rocks, it's going to have open spots, so you could get a tiny little rock that shoots through it, the right thing, and still hit your headlights. So I'd rather have the clear, and I just leave that on there. The other mod I've done was to the kickstand. I picked up the Touratech foot extender or widener, give you a larger footprint for your kickstand. And so far I've had no issues. I've been out here on the grass or out here in the fields where you've got softer soil. It's done really good, no complaints. One thing I have, while trying to get the bike maneuver around on the rocks up there, and it was out 40-degree temperatures, wet, rain, misting. So, you know, we're on the rocks, it's slick, and I'm trying to maneuver the bike instead of waiting for my buddy to help me to get turned around, and I lost my footing, so I had to lay the bike down. I was able to bring it down fairly well controlled. The crash guard closed the gap up a bit on that side. It's not the full half-inch that used to be there. Looks like I've got a bit over a 1/4 inch still, but it bent in just slightly. And then the other weekend, coming off a long ride, went up to Leavenworth with a buddy of mine. We'd already split off on the way home, and I took an exit, taking the scenic route home, and came down that exit. The right side of the road was higher, and so I put my right foot down. But as soon as I put my right foot down, my right leg's built out of titanium, and when I put it down at that time, it just felt like jello, so I had no strength or anything in it whatsoever. So as soon as I put my foot down on that side, I was just trying to bail away from the bike, because the bike was going to come down. I wasn't going to be able to hold it, period. So I didn't even try. Thankfully, after I got away from the bike, my leg felt normal again. So it came down on this side, got some rash right here, and it did push it in all the way up to the valve cover. So I'm going to have to take them off, get them on a press, pull them out a bit. I haven't decided between the Touratech or the alt-rider braces. You know, I do like the alt-rider guards that go on there, so I might go that setup, but they do mount differently. The alt-rider bolts up over here, and it uses the cross bolt for the upper engine mount, and they bolt solidly on both sides, whereas the Touratech comes up, goes to the same spot, but it uses a Delrin puck. So that system, I don't know, that might be a better system, because if it comes in, if it's a hard impact, you know, it'll give. Might destroy that Delrin pack, but it'll give. It might be safer to keep you from bending your frame. That's the one thing I worry about. All the different solid ones I've seen is I worry about bending the frame. I'd almost just rather have this give and the brace give and its mounting give than to tweak a frame. So I haven't decided which way, but you know, I've seen Brett Tracks with running the alt-rider, and he just pushes that bike over. So I guess if he hasn't bent a frame that way, the way he just kicks the bikes over, probably don't have anything to worry about. If it's going to bend the frame, that's going to be a hell of a bad accident, not just dropping it on the trailer or on the side of the road. So I might go that way. And you know, that would basically take care of most of the mods I need. I was thinking I was going to go bark busters up here, but when the bike goes down, these don't come anywhere near the ground, you know. most situations the bike stops. It's at an angle. It picks up really easy. So unless these get damaged, I think I'll probably just leave the stock BMW ones on there instead of putting the bark busters. Am I satisfied with the bike? Do I have any regrets buying it? You know, this is my first adventure type bike. You know, I've ridden most types of motorcycles, from dirt bikes to sport bikes, you know, raced motorcycles, whether it's out in the desert or road race tracks on the road race bikes. I've run baggers, whether it's a Harley bagger or a Goldwing, you know. So I've done most types, and I've never done a dedicated adventure bike as big as this, and so this is my first one. I've been very happy. You know, some people expect if you have an adventure bike that you need to go off-road or whatnot. And I said no. I said, you know, for me, when my legs started giving out to where I couldn't race motorcycles or do track days anymore, I had to sell my sport bike because I can't bend my ankles enough anymore. Hurts too much. You know, that gets you a little bit depressed. And then after searching many bikes, you know, this bike right here enables me to ride again. So even if I never hit dirt, if all I did was street with it, you know, it's well worth it. But this bike's great for everything. You know, like I said, whether you're running around town, running around canyon roads, long highway runs, out on the dirt, you know, you're not going to ride it like a full-on dirt bike. There's better bikes for that, but just for fire roads and stuff, mild stuff, this is great. Seating position wise, I find it a lot more comfortable than a Goldwing or a Harley bagger on a long ride. A lot of those types of bikes for me puts you in a sitting position where it puts pressure on your tailbone, and I don't find that very comfortable. This bike gives you a more upright and slightly lean forward position, more like a dirt bike, and that takes the weight off the tailbone, and that's made it a lot more comfortable for me on the long ride. The other weekend, coming back from Leavenworth, you know, I finished up at about 360 miles that day, but coming back from Leavenworth, we're on the highway. That's the first time I've used the cruise control in these 8 months. Used the cruise control, laid my legs right up on here. Doesn't need any highway bars, highway pegs, you know. I let my legs stretch out there for a while, you know, and legs never got hot or anything. So yeah, she's been a great all-around bike. Really can't say anything else. I've got, you know, like I said, it's been a great bike. I've been happy with the purchase. You know, if I won the lottery, I'd have a few other adventure bikes, you know, the KTM 1290 Super Adventure, Ducati Desert X, Triumph Scrambler, KTM 890 Adventure R, KTM 690 Enduro R, you know, just a bike for every mood. But for having only one, this has been great, and I'm glad I got it. Gave me a new lease on my life riding. So thanks for watching. Thanks for putting up with me, and hope to do a lot more videos riding, just enjoying. Thanks for coming along. Bye.